Okay, friends, hope you're having a wonderful Thursday. My Thursday is not too bad. We are here on this wonderful Thursday. Let me get everything set up. Okay, cool. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about swimming ponds. We're going to talk a little bit about the silliness that's happening in the world, and a little bit about the my view on the Great Reset and what it means, and how it's not necessarily as bad as I translated a little bit different. Me and Mark had a conversation about this today, and so yeah, the guys are all up in idle chit chat, so I'm gonna pop up there, invite them back down into this chat, and that's what we're going to. That is what we are going to do right now. Hey, gentlemen.
Doc.
Hey.
Hi.
Didn't respond, so.
Okay, so I'm gonna.
Hey, Doc.
If we all yes, Yam.
Oh, just checking in.
Okay. I'm gonna. If you guys all want to jump down into lively conversation, we can jump down there.
Okay.
The reason we're all jumping down to lively conversation is because here on my Discord, I like to have different things set up, and whenever we're in lively conversation, everyone knows that this is a live show. So, how is everyone this evening?
Very good.
Demantra's in like a super max prison over there, apparently.
Yeah, Demantra is in Alex Jones's endgame for global enslavement. He actually is.
Yeah, and no one notices. No one notices at all.
So Demantra, if you wouldn't mind, we'd be very interested in hearing a little bit about it. By the way, guys that are watching, if you don't know Demantra, he's also a fellow D-Liver here. But he is also, he's on the upside down part of the world, on the other side of the world, there in Oz. And he's had some interesting new things have been happening over there. Demantra?
Yeah, so we've had like this new COVID variant from India. And they're saying how infectious it is and everything. And like, you don't even need to be like talking to someone, you can just walk past someone in the street and boom, you've caught it. And that's why they've locked us down for 2 weeks, possibly up to 4, with you're not allowed to leave your house for more than 2 hours.
It's crazy.
So wait, you can only catch it like for 2 hours? Is that why you're only allowed to leave for 2 hours?
Oh yeah, well, it's interesting because the 2 cases that they were talking about where people caught it just by walking past each other or whatever, it turns out that they never actually existed and they were just false positives, so the whole thing's been a sham. And now they're saying we still need a lockdown though. They're not giving us the R number for this new variant, you know, the how many people one single person can infect. It's just really confusing, and even the media is calling out the politicians now, saying like this is a little bit ridiculous. Like every other state in Australia doesn't lock down like this. We've been in lockdown since COVID 166 days now.
Oh, so this is only happening in one of the states, one of the provinces.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Interesting.
always this one state, our state, Victoria.
That's because you're named after the queen. That's why. Named after a queen.
Yeah.
You'd have been
But
George.
it-
You'd have been fine.
But the
So
thing
the
that's
rest,
crazy
so the rest of
is-
Australia isn't anything like as much. I didn't know that.
No.
Okay.
No. The rest of Australia, their politicians are sensible, and they just say, well, we need to keep things open and deal with the cases. But they just track them down, find the people, get them to isolate, and then it's done. They don't lock down the entire state. But the problem is, every time they've tried to do that in our state, the government has stuffed it up, and either people have not isolated or whatever, and yeah, and that's now we have like this QR code stuff where you literally have to sign in to every business that you go to, and if you don't, the business gets fined something like $10,000.
And we've had that, but without the QR codes, because the restaurants you always have like sign in. But like
Yeah, you sign in.
I only sign in like maybe one or two, and I usually give like a phone number that's like they could call me, but I'm never gonna pick that particular number up. That it is a real number, and I'll give them. Sometimes I'll change my last name, but if they call me, like I'll be okay. Who's calling? They could leave a message or whatever, but
But it's no
it's
longer
fucking weird.
it's no longer
VR
checking
code.
into the actual business, right? You are obligated. You have to legally use the government's QR code. So the government is tracking you everywhere you go now. It's not the businesses like
So the
oh, I'm
QR
gonna
code,
this.
the QR code is something. Is the QR
It
code
links
something
to
that
a
the
government
government has
app.
assigned to you particularly, like with your name and all your information on it,
Yeah,
so they know it's you?
you have a government app
Uh,
on your phone that when you scan it, it comes up with a little notification. You click on it, and it says your name and all of your
Right.
information
So
gets
so if
sent
you
to
don't
them. And
so if you don't have one of these phones, if you don't have one of those phones, or you're really poor and you don't even have one of those phones, you really can't go anywhere, basically.
yeah, the businesses won't let you inside. They have a
Unbelievable.
check-in desk out the front of supermarkets now where like 2 staff members sit there and make sure that you have your mask on and that you sign in.
Sounds like a great business opportunity coming up to start doing shopping and such for people that don't want to go out and do that kind of stuff. You'll do all the check-in, you'll do all the shopping for them, and you just make a nice gray market out of this. Great way to make
Well,
some
there
money.
is
It sounds
there is
sounds like a
people
way
that
to
can
it sounds
pick
like a
it
way
up.
for a lot of people to starve to death. Am I wrong? I'm playing devil's advocate, but seriously, like, is everybody that much of a sheep? There's no way.
Sounds like you're
Are
like
you
Oh
guys
no,
reverse
there
beta
is
testing
way,
for the
yeah.
beta test?
the reverse Florida. It sounds like they're doing the opposite of what they're doing in Florida, which is funny. Which is funny to think Australia manned and Florida manned, and they're just trying something different. It really sounds like that's what's going on.
Yeah, so Victoria is the most left-wing state in Australia. So that's why it might be a bit confusing when you hear about the restrictions and why it's only in Victoria is because it's insanely left-wing and people just follow the government.
Okay.
Whatever they say goes, yeah.
I mean, what this is really sounding like is just before COVID, up in the very top, Queensland, but I can't remember the name of the city. They were trying to roll out the that same thing that they have in China, the
The dragonfly facial recognition stuff.
yes, it was one of the major cities in Queensland that they were trying to do that. They were trying to do that in. And they were trying to get everyone to, voluntarily do that, and then also the social, the social credit scores and such like that. So it sounds like they've decided to switch that down and see what they can get going in Victoria now. So this is very interesting.
Yeah, I
So-
couldn't see many of the other states fall for that kind of stuff. It's definitely a Victorian type of thing.
You don't think the Tassies would fall for this? Actually, I'm
So
surprised.
Demontra, how is your family reacting? Are you guys like enraged, or are you like just putting up with it, or are you just like totally
Yeah, enraged.
okay with it? Or I mean,
none of us are okay with it in my family, but we sort of have to put up with it because you can have conversations with people and you can break the restrictions by like going to see someone and talk to them or whatever and hang out with them. And they'll be mid-conversation like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. But all the rules are good, right? We need to follow them. And it's like, we're literally breaking the rules right now, hanging out, and you still think that they're a good idea. Like, people just follow them and think that they're the best thing ever.
People they've reached like the nirvana level of not disassociation, but what is that? Cognitive dissonance. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Cognitive dissonance. Yeah. They've really gotten, their brains have literally gotten fragmented to the point where Mark could run a good defrag program on them and fix them.
It's a spell that they've been under for a very long time, and they can't stop thinking, oh no, this can't all be a scam. This can't all be like Alex Jones said 15 years ago. This can't all be just a big, there can't really be a global government that's controlling this, because I would have noticed, and those crazy people are all crazy, and I'm much cleverer than them. So there's no way. So they have to do more and more and more mental arithmetic, mental gymnastics to be able to do it. But less and less normies are doing that now.
Surely the government, right? Surely the government cares about us and wants the best for us, right? That's the mentality.
A lot of people don't care also is because they start to hand out money to people. Like, I think their new scheme is if you've got less than $10,000 in your bank account, you get $300 or $500 a week support, which is nothing when rent is like $400 alone without utilities. That's the way people justify it. Is if the federal government is sending you money, then it's fine. Why are you complaining about the restrictions?
I'll just wait till they
Where's
start
the money coming from?
Yeah, just wait till they start the lottery, and then you can start asking where the money's coming from, because that's what I've been doing a lot lately. I've been asking, with all these lotteries going on here in the States, especially in my state here in West Virginia, I've been going after the governor, asking, you know, I'm not passing any judgment on any of this. I just want to know where the money's coming from. I want to know where this $5 million to offer $1 million winners. I want to know where this money's coming from for the guns. I want to know where the money's coming from for all of this. I want solid answers. I don't want to guess. I want the state to come and say, here's where this money's coming from. It's either taxpayers' monies, it's money that we had in a rainy day fund, or it's magic money that we created out of nowhere. I just want them to tell what it is.
Here in my state, which is Kentucky, the lottery's paid for with the lottery tickets. Like, all that money goes towards it, like a percentage of it, and then a percentage goes towards the state.
No, the COVID lottery. The COVID lottery. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, I got you.
Is your state doing a COVID lottery? If you have the vaccine, you can sign up for the COVID lottery and you can win.
It is.
You know?
It is not. Our state's still really bad, ravaged with COVID, and not to mention, most people around here only make around $1,000 a month. It's more rural than anything. Rural area, I guess.
Oh, that's no. Listen to this, Golf. This is what blows my mind. So our governor cut that extra $300. But in the last year and a half, because there were so many people on unemployment and so many people collecting that $300, the mead wage of West Virginians went up $1,000. That's how poor this state was, that so many people were collecting and using this money to get through.
Well,
and then here's what's also crazy. The governor says, oh, the reason he's cutting the program is we need more people to get back to work and we need more people to do things. But prior to COVID, unemployment was 5.3. As of last month, unemployment in West Virginia was only 5.9. So it was definitely within the percentage. It was definitely in the percentage.
Here it's really bad.
So,
what they're having to do here is basically you got unemployment, but you have to show proof that you're looking for a job. If you can't, they cut unemployment off. You don't get anything.
How are you guys cutting the extra $300? The $300.
The Senate's in control now. We made our governor quit giving money out mostly because of what he's doing. So we ended up cutting it to all Republican Senate. That got cut, and we set in place a thing where, in order for you to get money, you have to show proof that you're trying to get work.
Okay. Yep.
And if you can't show proof, you don't get money.
Okay. Yeah, that's how unemployment has always been. I mean, that's not hard. You can apply.
Yeah.
Because
and they also have a time period. They have 2 weeks.
What do you mean they have 2 weeks?
Basically, if they don't have a job in 2 weeks, they have to go before a judge and explain why they don't have a job.
Okay, see, that's ridiculous. Because the way. So I don't know if anybody knows this. So I've know quite a bit about unemployment. It's happened. I've been on unemployment 3 times in my life. All 3 times were directly related to disasters. Like I lost my job. I lost my job right after 9/11 because the company that I was working
But
for had.
you've also got to understand why our state's doing this, because we're extremely in debt. Our state is, like, massively in debt. We had to end up cutting teachers' wages and stuff like that. They're about to have to raise taxes.
Oh no, I get it. I mean West Virginia and Kentucky are like are kin to when you talk about poverty and
Yeah.
some of the worst parts of Appalachia. I think your county, I think there's a county in your state that actually has worse poverty than my state, but I think my state is still.
I think you're talking about Bullitt County. It's either that or it could be Pulaski.
It's whatever county. The county usually touches West Virginia. It's usually one of the counties that's right there in the mountains that touches West Virginia.
I think
But-
that might be Greenberg County.
I'm not sure what county it is, but no, the same thing here. Now we have a large variety of counties that are impoverished. I mean, I know folks that are fourth. Let's see, at this particular point, yeah, 4th generation Czech. So they're 4th generation people on the Czech.
Yeah.
But the one thing I say.
Eastern part of Kentucky is more of the poverty area. That's where more or less laws, I guess. It's more governed by their own set of things. It's weird.
Yeah, Eastern Kentucky is going to be a lot more Appalachian Kentucky as well.
It is. It's a lot
Yeah.
more mountainous.
Yeah. But no, that's interesting. I mean, what I find interesting is, like for example, the PEUC. That's that free money. That's that extra $300 that they give. The thing is that's not money that's being issued from the state. That's actually money that's been issued from the federal government, and that's money that has actually been put aside. That's money that was voted on.
Okay.
Well, the thing
No, that's not the money they're cutting here. My bad. I thought you were talking about state funds and
Okay.
stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I understand state funds, but what I don't understand is why any state would turn down federal money. Most states are always clamoring to get as much federal money.
We're pro federal money.
So,
but they cut a lot of our grants and stuff where we're now a 2A county. Like all of our counties are 2A and we're a 2A state now.
yeah, West Virginia. I think I had mentioned that before. West Virginia's constitutional carry. It's always been 2A. It's always been 2A. It's constitutional carry. So you don't need any permit to do anything. Like if you want to carry concealed, you're allowed to carry concealed. All that, whatever. And it's now starting July 1st, in a month from now. They're also taking away all taxes on ammo and guns.
That's nice.
That all being said, like West Virginia also did in the last 10 years, did also lose 60,000 people. The schools are horrible here.
Same here.
If we can have teachers, most of the time, the teachers, the few teachers we do have that are good teachers don't get paid well, and the teachers that are crappy teachers, like we can't really get rid of. Now I will tell you
that's how it is here. It really is, man. Or some people have to drive 6 counties away to go to school.
So one of the things that West Virginia just did, I think earlier this year for next school year, if you have a college degree, you can become a teacher in this state now.
Oh my god.
So that's how. Now you're not going to get paid crap. Like I think teachers here get paid $22 a year.
That ain't bad. That's actually pretty decent money. That's more than what they get paid here. They only make $15,000 a year.
Well, I mean, most civilized states.
Starting out, but
Yeah.
we have a scaling system. Like if they're with 30 years, I think they'll start making $35,000, something like that.
Yeah, West Virginia has a scaling as well, but like I have friends in Ohio that make quite a bit more than that.
Yeah, they make a lot more.
Even in Appalachia, Ohio. So.
One of my old high school teachers went on to be a professor, and he had a job offer to be a professor in Tennessee. He finally took it, but for a year he didn't. He taught at Western. He only made around $35,000, but he could just cross the state line and make up towards the $65,000. That's almost double his salary.
Hmm. Oh yeah. No, it's
It amazes me.
nope. It is. It is. It is absolutely amazing.
You would
But
you would think a lot of that would be regulated more than what it is. Their salaries and stuff, like state to state, like more government controlling that.
well, that's the part I don't understand is they have government control over the education, but they don't seem to have. And what I also don't understand is how the federal teachers union allowed this kind of stuff to go on either. And the only thing I can guess is they might use places like Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Arkansas, West
It's
Virginia.
testing ground.
Well, not even as testing ground, as ways they're like, okay, well, we're gonna pay these teachers this, but we're gonna pay the teachers in the bigger areas and that kind of stuff this, and so they're just like, well, look, see, we compromised with you, and so like, the rural teachers get paid crap, where the suburb and city teachers get paid more. So it might be kind of a game like that. I don't know.
I think
It's really
you're onto something there.
it's also really interesting. I'm actually so I've been some of my lefty friends have been saying something, and I was really listening to them. I was just listening to them talk about something, and they're talking about how there's a lot of their friends that are just like, well, I'm not going back to work until they pay me this, or I'm not going back to work till they pay me this. And so a lot of people's gut reaction is like, who do you think you are? But then I thought to myself, we've been underpaying. Not minimum wage, not beginner level things, but we've been underpaying people that's actually been working decent jobs for a long time, like teachers.
I agree there. I mean, honestly, what the government gave us isn't a lot of money. That's normally what normal people's paycheck is, like $3,000, $2,000,
Oh, I know.
all the way up to $1,000 a paycheck.
Oh, I know.
But the fact is, a lot of these people are making less than that a month.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's going to get,
I can go flip burgers at Taco Bell and make more money than doing anything else.
Didn't know you
That's
could flip
also
Didn't know you could flip burgers at Taco Bell, but I understand exactly what you meant.
yeah, my bad.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
I liked it. I think that's a new one I'm gonna have to say. Yeah, no, that's the problem is that the better jobs, we're not even gonna call the good jobs. The better jobs don't really exist anymore in Appalachia.
They're all gone.
They outsourced them to China, or they outsourced them to Mexico, or they outsourced them to Vietnam.
Not to mention, Appalachia used to be paid by coal.
Yep.
They can't even coal mine up there anymore because of all the regulations, so it's killing the communities.
Well, and these Appalachian states are not getting smart, and they're not doing the Colorado model. They're not trying to, start growing marijuana. They're not trying, if they just focused on growing marijuana and focused on the CBD and the marijuana, opened up that industry, reclaimed a lot of that reclamation land, the land that was from old coal mines and such. That's not really good for anything else, but would, be perfectly fine growing some pot. If this,
I don't know. A lot of the reason most people don't want to mess with the areas with the mines in it because of the old dynamite boxes and the methane gas that builds up in there, because it causes methane explosions. Let's say point A is closed off, and so is point B. It's like a pressurized landmine.
Well, okay, I guess I'm more referring to the strip mining that's been done in a lot of places.
Because that's not very common here in Kentucky. They actually dug into the mountains and stuff, and like underneath valleys.
Oh, see, West Virginia has a lot of mines, but then they figured out it was easier just to blow up the mountaintop removal, than it was to do mines. So like they just started deleting mountains everywhere and just started leveling mountains all over. Like when we're standing on top of my mountain, and when I'm standing up there, I think I've showed it a couple views. I can actually look across. It's probably about 15 miles away, but I can look across the mountain, and there's a mountain that as I've been here for the last 15 years, you can slowly see it start getting deleted because they've been still doing mountaintop removal there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, there's lots of crazy stuff. I mean, the thing is, what sucks about all of this is it's an easy fix.
It kills the environment.
Well, I mean, yeah, all of this is an easy fix. We can still safely extract coal. We can still provide really suitable jobs for these people, and we can still have people still have their level of freedom that they want without all of this. Just they purposely don't want to move in any of that direction. And And then
I agree with you there. I think I really do. I think the whole world's about to go through a revolution. I believe it may happen if someone lands on Mars. More people might want to start going off planet more. Funding will go that direction. Or the mission fails and we start trying to fix our problems. But,
So sorry, this is going to be a little black-pilled, but
you're good.
I actually don't believe we can go to Mars. I don't think that. I think that if we ever start doing missions to Mars, those are just depopulation missions. I think those are just experimental missions. Like, let's say Mars exists, and let's say we can go there. Everything that I've ever read on all of the medical experts and such like that say that it would take generations for us to be able to live on Mars because of the solar radiation, because it doesn't have the proper atmosphere.
And we don't have ways to filter out the solar radiation.
Yeah.
Elon Musk said generations will probably die trying to colonize Mars.
Well,
Yeah, and we could just fix our planet in the meantime.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we can do.
Doesn't even make
Hydroponics
sense.
could cure hunger.
Well, no, we don't have a hunger problem on this planet. We have a we just have a we just don't know how to we just don't know how to really distribution food, because there's something almost everywhere on this planet that we can grow and eat as humans. We are pretty amazing. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, Demetra, it's probably not as big a deal for you because I don't know how many spruce trees and such you have, but spruce trees. So most of us know what spruce trees are.
Yeah.
Everything in a spruce tree is edible. You can eat the inner bark. You can eat the needles. You can eat the little sticks. There's not many trees that us humans can completely consume, but we can eat everything on a spruce tree and digest it.
I knew you could eat the needles, but I didn't know the rest of that was.
Yep, and its benefit, and it has a benefit to us. You can actually if you have the piece of wood, you can actually soak the wood until it gets soft, and then you can eat the wood. The reason you want to do that is you don't want splinters, and you want your stomach to be able to break it down easier. But it's actually, so that being said, that's just one food that most of us don't realize that we can eat, and so there's food everywhere that we can eat all over the place. So.
But and some people wouldn't really consider that a definition of food, though, just for the way how everyone was taught to recognize food. You know what I mean? At least in the United States.
Well, I know, but I mean, that's what's funny. Here in the United States, we don't actually know what food is. We call, like, American cheese food, which American cheese is just food stuff.
We call a hamburger food.
We call a hamburger food, and hamburger has, some food.
Most people don't even know where hamburgers come from, bro. They think Walmart.
That's true.
So, it's a bad issue.
Demetra, you were going to say something?
I was just saying hamburgers are food. It's got all the main food groups of what you need to eat.
You are correct.
Well, hold on. It depends on how your hamburger's made. If your hamburger is full of the pink stuff that they extract from the meat, that pink stuff is actually not really that good for people to eat. But if it's actually like ground meat, yeah, if it's actually a ground meat.
Eat that stuff though.
Now, you were talking about hydroponics. So one of the things that I think is actually pretty cool to think about is if hydroponics is the wave of the future to be able to create food, then last week Rhythmic found that where you can grow your own meat. And if you're able to grow your own meat, that is just as game-changing as hydroponics.
It was pretty impressive, the video.
Just as if you just would have went, a couple, maybe 30, 40 years ago, and you would have told everyone, oh, we're going to grow vegetables in water. People would have thought, that's crazy, that can't be healthy for you, that can't be good. But we found out we're able to do it properly. And as we understood how to do it better, we now have really, really good hydroponic, organic, very, very high in nutrients, high in vitamin type of...
The crazy thing is, most hydroponic farms keep goldfish in the tank.
Oh, yeah. Goldfish, if you want to set up a really good aquaponic system, you use tilapia, ducks, and your aquaponic system, because the ducks will eat some of the leftover stuff that falls in. They'll poop. It'll go down. The tilapia will clean everything up. The tilapia fish emulsions go and fertilize the plants, and you've just made yourself a nice circle. And you can eat all three of those. You can eat your plants, you can eat your duck, and you can eat your fish. And you've pretty much has a really awesome self-containing thing. And if you filter your water, you've got drinking water right there as well. So it's just we know how to do everything. So we just sometimes don't do it properly. That's what's silly. And so, you know, the future's going to be awesome. We just have to learn the lessons that we can learn from like what's happening to Dimatra, learn the lessons of what all of us are going through here in Appalachia.
Yep.
The future has been better than the past consistently throughout all of known history.
Okay.
Most of history was horrific.
And if you were to go back 500 years, that was a lot better than it was 1,000 years, and that was a lot better than it was 5,000 years. And it's better than it's exponentially improving as well. That improvement is getting faster.
So my question is, what do you guys think we'll be doing 500 years from now? The human race will.
Same thing we're doing now.
Probably.
Same thing we're doing now. Hanging out with our friends, talking about what we're going to be doing in 500 years.
I don't know. I'm more concerned about what's going to happen where Dimatra lives, like in the next month or so. Like, what the hell is that? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously. Are they doing the same thing in India and we're just not hearing about it, or same thing in China?
What it is that the New World Order aren't as powerful as they'd like to think or they needed to be to have their New World Order. They're a little bit powerful in a few places, and they've managed to influence a few people, and they've managed to do it in Australia to a certain extent, and they've got enough control to basically have their New World Order with all of the brainwashed lefties. But most of the brainwashed lefties live in one particular place, and they've managed to get them to accept a load of bullshit. But there's enough reasonable people in Australia and in the rest of the world that they can't do it with the whole country. So what they've done is irrelevant.
And OG Hollywood and Cal69, thank you guys for the follow.
The good news is, in about 60 years, they'll be gone. Don't worry about it. They'll be dead.
I think what's happening is
Mark, I really hope
I was
you're
very
right.
concerned when Dimatra was saying it was Australia. I thought it was all of Australia. Now that I know it's just Victoria, it's like, oh, that's just like Seattle. That's just like Seattle. I don't, that's okay. I can handle that. But when I thought you were saying it was all of Oz, man. That's yeah. Well, it's just you guys. It's not you.
The problem is they're like preparing the rest of the country for it as well. They're on our national broadcast at ABC. They're talking about how we're going to have future pandemics, and we need to prepare for them by having government-run quarantine centers in every state and have these tracking things in place, so then if there is a future outbreak of a new virus, they'll be able to jump on it as quickly as possible. And
that'll never happen.
Like tracking 24/7.
Anytime they want to amp the 5G up and the 6G up and put people into the ground and call it a fucking virus.
Did you know that 5G actually can cause like burns and stuff if you're close enough to the cell tower and like radiation?
Well, anything can cause any type of that kind of stuff can cause if you're too close. If you don't electromagnetic EMF can be very, very powerful. It just depends on the strength and its your location and such. Like my dad used to tell me when he was in the Army, he was a radio specialist. They had their satellite dishes and such like that, and they knew which satellite dish they could like throw hot dogs up and cook hot dogs on, and such like that. And then you guys know that I have all those cell towers up near me because I've got all those where I live on Flat Top Mountain. I got all those cell towers. Well, I've talked to all those cell climbers and such like that. And some of them talk about how like they used to have to turn off parts of the thing, and the younger guys are just like, oh no, we don't even have to turn them off anymore. They're not as dangerous as they were. And I'm thinking to myself, are they not as dangerous, or are they just telling them they're not as dangerous? Like that's what's kind of interesting about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys all know the experiments that I'm doing with my bees. Is I'm trying to figure out if the EMF is actually affecting my bees, and such like that. So I'm on the
How are you
process
doing
of.
that?
Well, I'm going to be building some different types of enclosures for the bees, and I'm going to be wrapping the enclosures. And then I've actually put the bees in a variety of different places throughout my yard. I've brought my I have one of my EMF meters. So I brought my EMF meter, and I walk around figuring out this one particular tells me the radio frequency, and this one also tells me the electromagnetic frequencies as well. And then I find the quietest places in my yard, and that's where I've been putting my bees to try to see if that can actually help out as well. And then the other things we're going to be doing is wrapping them in different types of material. I'm going to wrap them in the material a little bit later in the year.
Are you going to be kind of so Doc, like over the summer, are you going to be kind of scientifically gauging how much or how much less they're stinging you?
Well, actually, all these guys
agitated?
actually seem to be. All these guys seem to be
How are you
pretty.
going to measure that?
I'm going to measure by the strength of the strength of the hive. Like
Doc,
how.
I would love to see you smack the side of the
how
hive
do you do that? Because they're not going to.
and do a demonstration on how to properly help yourself when you're being swarmed by bees, aggressively stinging you.
You run away. You run away really fast. You just run away.
We need a demonstration.
You run. You will probably, if you watch, you will probably, it will probably happen. I probably don't need to smack the side of the hive. What'll probably happen is I'll probably drop a frame one day, and I'll drop it just the wrong way and really piss off all the bees, and they'll just start flying around doing horrible things to me. So you'll probably get to experience that. Every Sunday is when we get in, check out our bees, so stay tuned for that, guys. But yeah, I'm not going to purposely smack them. I'm going to wait till it naturally happens, because it usually does once or twice a season. And I'm trying to record every time I get into the hive. I'm trying to record that one for me, so I can go back and I can relook at all of the footage, see what's going on. That's why I hold things up, because I can always go back and pause the video and look over what I saw on the frame. Two, some of you guys really just want to know what it's like to have bees, and so if I show you everything I'm doing with the beehive, then you guys have a pretty good idea of what it's like. But
So Doc, it's June 3rd, and as of the June 3rd of last year, would you say you've gotten stung more this year or more last year?
I would say we're probably even. Yeah, we're probably even, and the only reason for that is I've probably got into the bees more this year than I did last year. So yeah, I don't know. That's not a timer. That's just a clock. I don't know why. When I'm playing the stuff in the background, it just all of a sudden brings up a time. But that's what time it is. If you guys want to curious what time it is where I live.
Maybe that's how much longer we have left. Oh, okay. It's military time.
Yeah,
Military time, not a countdown timer.
Oh yeah, I just if you guys didn't know that, I pretty much only use military time. Like it makes so much more sense just to do things in a 24-hour clock than a 12-hour clock.
Yeah.
Hey, look on stream right there. There's you'll see it on DLive, but there's where Dimatra lives, right there on that that object that's on the screen. So.
Hell yeah.
It's like a tennis court.
It should
look
pop.
like a tennis court.
It'll pop up in a minute. You'll see. I know you guys got a little bit more of a delay than I do, so.
You're like 20 seconds or something. Looks like a bunch of just graphics.
Anyways.
Are they crisp looking?
It was the Earth is what was showing up. So.
So has there been like way more astrological events over 2020 and 2021?
There has, and it was very weird.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? And the media has covered more. Has there been more? No.
Different eclipses and stuff, like just like around where we started to have our lockdown, there was a blood moon in Victoria.
Yep.
And then as it's about to end, on the same date it ends, there's another super blood moon. Ring of Fire moon.
Okay, so let me explain to you something as an old fart here. So when I was a kid, there was no such thing as supermoons. They just referred to moons like, oh, the moon's the closest it's been to us. This is the closest the moon's going to be to us this particular year. So that's what all a supermoon means, is the moon's closer to us than it normally is. Than, like, it's within the range of the normal stuff. The reason why we're having so many eclipses right now is we just happen to be in that eclipse cycle. Every so many years, you get a bunch of eclipses really close. But I think the planet has... It's two... Hold on. I think it's four. I think we have 4 eclipses a year somewhere on the planet.
We're also due for a polar shift sometime soon.
That's interesting. That's something I'd like to have some more conversations about with you guys in the future, but I'm not sure that we understand what a polar shift is. I don't think we have any idea. All I do know is that if you guys follow Swarm, Swarm is the ESA, the European Space Association, sent up a bunch of satellites. 2014, I believe it was. And what that does is that that tells you where the magnetic poles are, or where the magnetic part is, and they keep finding this weird magnetic patch over the Indian Ocean that we had not seen before. So that's something that's very interesting. And so, but we know that the magnetic North Pole has been moving drastically fast. So I think it's moving. I don't want to speculate. It's just moving. It's moving fast. It moves faster and further every particular year. So
what does that mean for us? Let's say it does happen. The poles do end up shifting to a new location.
We have no
Would
idea.
that mean...
Like that, we honestly have no idea. So theoretically, and I'm playing theoretically here because we're outside of my belief system. So what we were taught in school is that the Earth is in rotation. Okay, correct.
Yes.
That's what most everybody was taught in school.
Correct.
If the Earth is in rotation and we have a magnetic pole shift, then while that happens, the Earth is going to stop rotation. At least for a short period of time, is going to stop its rotation. And that's what NASA says. That's what NASA says is a pole shift. Is for a short period of time, the Earth stops spinning.
No.
Yes.
Okay, let's say it stops spinning.
Well, I've never heard
what'll
that
happen?
before.
You've not heard that. That is currently the latest thing that NASA says, is that the Earth stops for a second, and then the pole shift, and then the Earth starts spinning again.
So you're telling me it kills us all?
Well, if the Earth stops, if NASA is correct with the Earth stopping, and the Earth is actually moving, I don't know what that means. Like, that doesn't make sense. There's nothing about physics that makes any sense.
I know I don't want to stop at like 3,000 rotations per second or something like that. You don't want to do that. Or however many rotations it is.
Broken Potato, thanks for the follow. Yeah, so I have no idea. That's just
because that goes against the laws, the force, you know.
Well, so this is a hard one. This is a hard one for me since I actually don't believe the Earth is spinning. So I have a tough time with that, but I do know that that magnetic, and I've seen it. I have seen it. I've seen it in the rocks. I do know that.
Rip us apart.
I do know that the magnetic poles has at least changed 3 times. So my friend who's a geologist showed me in the rock formations that even not very far away from my house, showed me the rock formations on how you can see when something changed the magnetic pool of the way the rocks were forming and such like that. And I thought that was really interesting.
So I guess if all of a sudden we either have one really, really long day or really, really long night, and we got really, really fucking heavy for a little while, we'd know. We
know something's wrong.
We know something was fucked up. I can't seem to lift my legs.
Now, my friend.
Is there a date for this, or
no? We have
speculation?
We have no idea. It's going.
We don't know. For all we know, we stop. We literally become a big red new wall stain because it's the forces of motion.
So okay, so
No.
here's
But
theory.
I don't remember whether we're based on centrifugal. Gravity is really based on centrifugal force, or it's based on mass.
So
The Earth's mass won't change.
So here's things that I've heard when I've looked into this. Things that I've heard is that the Earth's the crust that we are on is not going to stop spinning, but the Earth underneath the core is going to stop spinning, and then that's going to switch, and then that core is what's going to do the rotation, and
Right.
and the crust
Okay.
is going to keep spinning, and that's going to change the polarity of everything. That's one
That
theory.
sounds right.
That's one-
If that also makes the mantle slip, couldn't that theoretically cause 1 billion earthquakes? all of a
No,
sudden?
it's going to cause at least a lot of volcanic eruption.
Oh Lord, we're all gonna die because of Yellowstone.
Well, yeah, but we don't know if that would see what that could do is that could actually make Yellowstone so it's not volcanic anymore. Because
That'd
the
be
only
impressive.
reason that Yellowstone is volcanic is because of everything underneath. So if that would actually rotate to maybe over the Great Lakes, then the Great Lakes could boil away.
But then what was Yellowstone pops up somewhere else where
Yes.
and then it actually is a volcano.
Yes. Yeah, so, and that's all over the planet, that kind of stuff could happen. So that's one theory that I've heard. Another theory is the poles could switch and we might never know. It would only affect migratory birds and it would affect everything else, and it would not affect anything else. Because it would happen so quickly and so fast that what we're seeing in the geological time frame of the stacking rocks is millions and millions or thousands and thousands of years. So we're thinking it happened really slow when it just happened really fast, and then all the new rocks and such that form after that are just forming in the other direction. And then the only thing it would kind of mess up is like birds and such like that are used to the north and south, and our compasses would not work. Our compasses would work, but other stuff might be fine. That's a theory that I've heard. I've heard another theory that because of the connection with the sun and the earth, and how there's conduits that actually connect it with gravity and other things that we don't quite understand. That when the poles shift on the earth, it would actually cause a micronova on the sun. And so there's
There's some people that are saying it's actually happening now, and that the North Pole is actually moving into the middle of Canada, which we're getting cooler in a lot of areas.
Yep.
If you look at the jet streams and you watch above ground world news, you'll see that they're dumping 1 billion metric tons of bunker fuel over the Pacific Ocean, which is changing and making all the jet stream go vertical. It's crazy looking.
Yeah, there's a lot of
That's
that.
what we're seeing.
There's a lot of that I don't know. Some of it just sounds.
I don't know.
Some of it just okay. So things that I do know is happening. I do know in Florida, they have to change the numbers of the runways because the magnetic numbers are changing in Florida. I do know that's happening. I do know that in my lifetime we've been adjusting, leap day and leap second and leap minute and all that kind of stuff my entire life. Since I can remember the last couple major earthquakes, they've said it's changed. It's supposed to change the spin of the Earth by seconds and things of that sort. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. But all of this is really interesting. I pay a lot of attention. I'm going to give you guys I'll give you guys a link of something I follow. I'm not saying that this is that you need to take this site as gospel. Take this site as anything other than something interesting to listen to and to research and to look at. I like listening to it because it's a slightly different type of science than what than what most people are currently hearing. But I by no means am saying that I am endorsing this as being the truth. It's an alternative theory of something we're thinking about with some very smart sounding, and I would call them intelligent people, but they could just be really good at sciencing. Yeah, so I'll give you the link.
There isn't any reason to think that we're due for a pole shift, though. I don't think. There's no like pending signs that it's about to happen. There's like timelines where people say that, oh, look, this is how often we get a pole shift, and like we're due for one, and that maybe is true, but like there's nothing other than that. It might happen in 1,000 years, or it might happen in 100,000 years.
Or it could happen tomorrow. Like that's.
Yeah. But it's no more likely to happen tomorrow than it was 1,000 years ago.
Correct. I'm trying to find. Give me just a second. I thought I had it. I thought I had it right here, so I'll have to thumb through and find the link. It's just really interesting. For those
the North Pole position always moves about. I think it's just always done that. That's just how it works, and that's fine. Just because it's moving about a lot at the moment, that doesn't really mean anything, because we don't really have a record of how it's moved about at all.
I'm going to do a lot of pushback on that, or it could mean everything, and we just don't know what it means yet. We don't know if it's something to be concerned of or something that happens all the time. Like, I do think it is definitely something to pay attention to and to keep an eye on, but on the same aspect, I'm not saying it's something that you should go and panic about and change your life over. It's just something to keep an eye on and to pay attention to and listen to what people have to say, because it's a new phenomenon for humans to be studying it. And I think
it is.
Really cool.
It's one of those things that everybody assumes it's well understood.
And
when you go and look when you go and look it up yourself, it's like everybody, oh yeah, it's iron core in it. This Earth's made of iron and it's spinning, so that's why the North Pole's right. It's like magnets in that, mate. In it, you're getting there, right? Okay, so what's the mechanism that causes that to move then?
Yeah. Magic. It's the best answer.
Why is the North Pole where it is today? And why is that different than it was 50 years ago? Because we know that. But what you... well, it sort of spins differently, doesn't it? Okay, well, what's driving that? Like, we haven't got a clue. That's a pretty basic question, and we don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what's the input that's changing where the North Pole is? Like, okay, if you've got... It should just stay in one place, right? If it's just an iron core, then in the Earth spinning, then what would disrupt that? It would just stay there, right? What's moving things around in the Earth to ever change anything like that? It should set it like if the Earth formed from, the explosion of a previous star in the way that they say it settled down into a steady state, right?
Okay, so I put a link to the website, or I put a link to their YouTube channel. It's called the Diehold Foundation. Again, I'm not saying that I agree or disagree. It's just I'm saying that it is fun. It's fun to listen to, and it's fun to just to speculate and things of that sort. So, again, I found them through a Suspicious Observer is how I know about this. So just something that might be interesting to for those that are interested in this kind of stuff. So personally, I think that the reason we've seen all of the quote unquote global climate change, climate catastrophe, whatever the hell they want to call it nowadays, I think it has to do with space weather. I think it has to do with the sun and what's going on in space. And I think since we so little understand what quote unquote space is, and I'm one of those people, I have no idea what space is and don't pretend to know. I think that that's what's actually causing all of this craziness. But I think that it's worth looking at all different options and trying to talk to as many people as possible. And if someone tells you that they know exactly what's going on, they're lying to you, because there's still so much that gets discovered all the time, and there's so much cool stuff. And I think we just don't have the technology to discover some of the awesome answers yet. So. So,
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's more climate stuff, climate disasters, and climate change things that are happening today than anything else, or was in the past. Are there more tornadoes now than there were on average 50 years ago? Are there more really bad storms? Is it actually worse? I don't think that's true, is it? That's just NWO propaganda when they realised that no one believed in global warming, so they renamed it to climate change. And then whenever there's a fire somewhere, they blame it on Al Gore. But it's bullshit. There's nothing different happening in the climate, right?
I would agree.
I don't. I don't think that's entirely true. I do think that regionally there's going to be more tornadoes, there's going to be more storms, there's going to be more hurricanes, there's going to be more fires, there's going to be more droughts. But I think it's a cycle. I don't think it's anything dealing with, and so like if you're talking the last 50 years, we could just be between the cycle. The cycle could be 120 years, the cycle could be 50 years, the cycle could be 200 years. We actually don't know what the cycles are just yet, and so like, I think that some of the stuff we're observing is we just don't have enough data to be able to see if these crazy stuff that we're seeing, if this is new or this. The other thing it possibly could be is I still think that bad people can do a lot more climate warfare, localized climate warfare than they want to admit. So we can hear you, Yam.
Well, Russia
I don't know if I drop my headphones. What the hell?
Meant rain by, I forget what they threw in the atmosphere out of one of their planes, but they used it to produce rain in Moscow and stuff.
I can make it rain. So can you. If it's a really foggy day, go have a really smoky bonfire, and you'll make it rain. Like,
oh yeah, I remember now. They were like dumping like dirt in the atmosphere, and something about it made it create cloud, and boom, rain.
I mean, there's lots of cool stuff that we can do, but they've been talking about trying to manipulate the weather and control the weather for the last 50 years. So I'm saying they might be able to do some small regional stuff. So that might also be playing a role outside of the cycles too. So that's where I don't. I think sometimes it's ignorant to be afraid of it, and it's also ignorant to think that science is always correct. So we just kind of have to follow that middle of the road of what we can observe, what we can document, and what data we choose to trust. Because some
have you seen these climate change lockdowns where they call for lockdowns to stop carbon emissions?
I have not.
In China,
yeah,
right?
There's lots of articles.
That's
We
interesting.
also had ones that were saying, like, during summer they wanted to have lockdowns on extremely hot days so people couldn't go out and light fires in the bush.
I've heard of like water rationing, like down in California and stuff where the wildfires are. They'll have it where you can't use your sprinklers, stuff like that.
I mean, that's the water rationing, the asking people to not have fires. Like, I actually have no problem with any of that. The reason is because our ancestors used to be smart enough to know not to start a fire on a really dry day, and people are pretty stupid today. And so, because we've allowed our people to be so stupid, sometimes we do need authority figures to ask them to not, make bad decisions.
Yeah, we already have like bans on like fire restriction days when it's hot, but they're talking about having lockdown so you can't leave your house when it's a hot day, so you can't go and light bushfires.
Yeah, see, that's stuff that's stuff that's way outside of my realm of even be able to understand, because being in Appalachia, being, in the middle of the country, like, no one would enforce any of that here. Like, there's no way they could enforce me to not go outside. So You know, it's a
Yeah.
completely different world. It's like totally outside of anything that I possibly could understand. So as much as that sounds really interesting, like I really don't understand any of it.
Do you guys have like a police station or the equivalent to that in America, like where you are?
No. The nearest law enforcement building is 35 minutes away, and it's not in my county, so I would technically need to call the one in my county, which would be about 40 minutes away. Oh, we've called 911 about break-ins and other things like that, and they just tell us to deal with it ourselves.
Uh,
So
so you've had break-in. That's crazy.
I've never had a break-in at my house, but neighbors, older neighbors that a couple years ago that everybody knew that they were on particular like morphine pills and such like that. Some bad people from away were trying to break into
Yeah.
these people's houses to steal their pills. No one local would do any of that kind of stuff. No one local would do any of that stuff because they wouldn't be around for too much longer if they did. So it's usually people from away. So the worst that's ever happened to me on the farm is someone stole my fire pit. So I used to have this fire pit. It was this big thing that it was designed to wash coal, and then you just cut out the bottom of it, and it makes this really nice basket fire pit. And so one of my friends gave that to me. That was used to work for the coal mines, and you know it was a lot of steel. So someone came and took it so they could recycle it, and they just pulled up in they went and stole everybody's around, but that's all they stole. They sold nothing else. So that's probably
I find it slightly ironic that it was a lot of steel.
yeah. Yes. So,
I had to shoot that one.
Yeah. So,
Stealing in there with a witty comment.
but that's about all that's about all really here. So, you know, most of the time, I mean, I'm blessed with having a fire station so close, and I'm actually super blessed with I can look out this window in less than 500 feet from my house. I actually have a fire hydrant, which is absolutely spectacular. Because I know people that, well, I mean, if you in the winter, we're gonna do it last year. Maybe we'll do it this year. I'll bring up the police scanner some evenings, some Friday, Saturday night evenings, and you guys can just listen to the fire calls in, and the police department and the fire department just say, you know, it's going to be 45 minutes to an hour before they even reach it. And so like there's just a lot of times that they don't plan on even trying to get. They just ask if the people are safe, and then they send an ambulance and a truck with the idea that they're going to tear it all. That it's just going to burn. Because that's how
That's crazy.
That's because they can't get to it. So
I saw this really cool thing once where they have like these strips along the top of your house, and if there's a fire coming, it just like shoots this fire retardant foam all over your house.
no, that would be cool. Now, there's probably a lot of stuff that we could do if we actually if we actually put the technology to save houses and to save things. We probably got. I mean, like, you know, I'm blessed with living in an old house, so my house is going to burn slower. I know that sounds backwards to most people, but my wood is so dense and so thick, and my house was built so well that it's gonna burn really, really slow. Where these new houses are made out of pine, and they're just all this extra kindling and all this crap stuff that people have in their house. You know, I got plaster walls, so my wall right here has, you know, it's got, you know, this much thick, like rock and stuff on it, plaster and stone and such like that. So it's gonna, you know, that's gonna take it's gonna crack and smolter. It's not really gonna catch fire. Where a lot of this new stuff, you know, will just catch fire and burn really quickly. So.
Flame one. No, you're right though. Your house is a hell of a lot better built than most of the ones that are done today.
Well,
What year did you say your house was built? Like 1850 or?
1897. The deed says 1897, so knowing things in West Virginia, it was probably built in the 1890s at some particular point, because I know how long it takes to mail a letter from Flat Top to Princeton right now. I can mail a letter from Flat Top to Princeton, and it'll take almost a week and a half for the government to get it. So if that's 2021, that's like that. Just imagine what 1897 was like. So,
You can mail a
Horse
letter
and buggy
from
stuff.
any address in the UK to any other address in the UK, and it'll get there the next morning if you post a first-class stamp on it. Always.
oh no, I can mail stuff to other states, and it'll make it faster than it makes it to the government building in Princeton. Like, it must go someplace, and then they just must let it sit. And they just don't check it. It's just like, oh, that's the government letter. Just let them.
The same thing. Yeah. No. My sister lives about 4 or 5 hours from you, like towards closer to like Virginia and Tennessee, towards that angle. And she's like, yeah, sometimes stuff takes like weeks and weeks to get there. It's just ridiculous. And she's out in the mountains too.
Well, we mailed a letter to Canada. Lisa mailed a letter to Canada, and it took 1 month. So, just absolutely insanity. Okay, so I'm going to start the video that we are going to talk about today, and let me get it all pre-set up. So one of the things that we're going to do, so we're not just always talking about all the horrible things in the world and such like that. We're going to talk. This video that we're going to watch is about. It's about swimming ponds, and so we'll fast forward through some of it because it's a longer video. And we'll stop and pause, and we'll talk a little bit about it as we progress through it. But what this is a guy that's building a swimming pond. And we're pretty much, this is a step-by-step watching him build this swimming pond. And then we'll talk a little bit about why swimming ponds are pretty cool, why I would really like to have a swimming pond, something I would like to build, and how much better they are actually for you than this. And if anybody that's watching this, if you'd like to watch this video again or want a copy of it or anything of that sort, if you hit up on the Discord, which I'll post the Discord in the chat. I'll put a link to this. So this is this guy. So because of the different groups I belong to, that's why I can play this video. So I have permission to replay this video and such like that. So.
Do we have to watch it on D-Live?
I'm going to try to see if I can get. I think I've got everything set up. So I think I've got everything set up so that you guys can watch it on there. Well, if you guys, I'm going to start it, and if you guys can let me know if the sound is working once I start it. Actually, and if everybody lets me know how it sounds everywhere, that would be perfect. There's not really any sound just yet, just swimming sounds.
This is wild swimming at home in a natural swimming pool. The center is for swimming, and the shallows all around are a watery wilderness. It's the plants and animals that condition the water. They keep it clean and clear.
Yeah, I can hear it.
And here, the whole pool is gently circulated using solar energy. This natural swimming pool or swimming pond cost a fraction of a commercial installation, and it was all built without requiring any specialized contractors to fit the liner or electrics or plumbing. There are no chemical pesticides added to the water, so it's completely healthy for all the creatures in and around the pond. I'll show you how I made this pool.
If there's anybody on D Live, if you guys can give me a how it's sounding.
The instruction for both is the same. I'll show you my techniques for the installation, as well as the more novel ideas. How to make the swimming area with flat and smooth walls, without needing to cut the liner. Insulating the swimming zone, to help preserve the warmth gathered from the sun. A pool filter, built from scrap and domestic plumbing, running silently except for the sound of bubbles. And a solar-powered circulation
Okay, I just
system,
turned up the volume.
so
Everything is,
animal-friendly.
we should
An
see if that's
adult
good.
frog can pass through without so much as a bruise. Very good, Theo. Great swimming. You all right?
I like to think that many of us have come to the conclusion that what makes us happy in life is being connected to what's happening around us. Plunging into a natural swimming pool and you are totally immersed in nature and the environment, a truly exhilarating experience. And owning one of these is not an impossible dream, it's really quite achievable. After all, if I've done it, then many people can do it. So I hope by showing what I've done, that will inspire you to get out there and start digging for yourself.
In the swimming zone, it's around 2 meters deep. And down here, the liner fits smoothly against the walls.
When I said it seemed okay, that weird echo started. Yeah.
Above, a sandbag wall and some oak sleepers in places where swimmers jump in.